Welcome to the Sailor Noob podcast, where a superfan and a noob talk about the original Sailor Moon episode by episode. I'm your host, Mikan Hana, joined by my co-host.
I'm the co-host and the noob, Caliban, and I have refined conversation and dignified manners.
I'm so glad to hear that, and I have to agree. And we're a couple of magical people ready to moon prism power make up this episode. Sailor Noob is brought to you by the Moon Kingdom.
You know what else is brought to you by the Moon Kingdom?
What else?
Reviews. Reviews and ratings.
Yes.
Before we start, I wanted to say that we can really use your reviews and ratings, audience.
Yes.
Be you from the Moon Kingdom or no. Whatever platform you listen to the show on, Apple Podcasts, or, we have a thing that tells us, where people are listening,
Yes.
And not big on the Apple Podcasts.
Oh,
so
okay.
Perhaps it's a new generation or a bunch of mavericks that listen to this show. I can see that happening. So, if you're on Spotify, I'm not sure Spotify really lets you make ratings to, podcasts, at least as far as this old fogey can tell.
Yeah, well.
So, even if you can't do that, if you are on some other service, I'm signed up to a couple different services for some reason, but I really only use one. Mm-hmm. If you are on one that lets you give a rating or something, I just throw a rating out. Give us a rating or a review. Just take a minute to do that because we'd really appreciate it. And like I said, we'll read 5-star reviews on the show.
Yes,
so,
absolutely.
I don't want that to color your decision-making process at all. But we would totally take that. And, if you are a diehard, Spotify user, or, I don't know, it just gets beamed into your fillings or something like that, you're not on a thing at all, or you watch on the web or whatever, there's another way you can show your appreciation.
Yeah.
Give us a Kōhī on coffee. Right?
Yes.
At coffee.com, coffee-.com,
Mm-hmm.
the Just Enough Trope Network, our network, has a ring-a-ding-a-ding, a little cup with the change in it,
Yes.
And if you want to throw us a couple of bucks, give us a coffee, then we'd really appreciate that.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Then when you do that, you can leave a little message. It's part of the process, and just say, looking good, positive, and not negative.
Absolutely.
Yatta, and not yato. This isn't Star Wars. What's Japanese, the hi is yes, but no is that's a couple different things, because even the Japanese don't want to flat out say no, and I love that.
Well, I guess you're not wrong about that. They have a couple different ways you can say no, and some of them I think the most common one is that you learn in Japanese classes, EA.
Right, yeah.
But there are other words that mean no, but also have other meanings, right.
Not so much.
Right. Right. When we talked about a kan and kansai ben, and everything. So anyways.
Yeah, say hi and not so much to us then. So if you want to give us a coffee, we got a link in the show notes.
Today we are talking about episode number 37. Mezase Princesu Usagi no Chinto-kun. In Japanese, Let's Become a Princess, Usagi's Bizarre Training, the English translation, and the English title, Little Miss Manners.
This is Little Miss Manners.
Yes.
Miss Manners, etiquette, Emily Post.
Yeah, right. I think that's what they were getting at. I don't know how many kids, would necessarily get that that's what Little Miss Manners is, but...
Is it a class thing?
You think so?
If you're watching this on a 7-inch black and white, you're like, what are they doing? But if you're watching this on a the curved TVs, 100-inch curved TV, if your butler is watching this and then telling you what happened on the show because you can't be bothered to watch it, and you'll go, oh yes, of course, just like the course that I took. If you're Baron Trump, and you're watching this on a solid gold television, and you're like, oh, like the girls that Daddy is in charge of.
I don't think
Does
that
any of
the
this-
Trumps
does any of this read?
necessarily have taken any lessons about manners.
No, but Trump has a modeling agency. You know,
yeah, I guess.
these are very good girls.
Ugh, gross.
Some of them say they're the best girls.
All right, let's move on from Trump, shall we?
It's gonna come back.
Would you like to give us a brief synopsis of this episode?
I don't know how brief it's gonna be, because wow, we're getting kind of plotty now.
Yeah, a little bit.
Maybe they always were plotty, but I just feel like we had a monster, and somebody within Usagi's orbit was affected by that monster, and then we just got down to business.
Yes.
But now so much is stacked on something else. So much is required to understand where we're getting and where we're going.
Yes.
And this one, I will get into it. There's no, hey, I'm Usagi or whatever at the beginning of this.
No.
We pretty much dropped that and we're just kind of jumping right in. But the episode still represents a return somewhat to normalcy. This seems like we keep talking about how we're 9 episodes from the end or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And this could easily be slotted into the first dozen episodes of the show.
Sure.
Without all the extra plotty bits that we'll get into. But we start off, classic scenario. Usagi's late for school.
Yep.
Toast in mouth.
Yep.
Tearing ass down the street. Feels like old times. She gets to Juban Jr. and runs into Naru, who's also late, I guess.
Yeah.
They exchange Ohio's. Ohio, indeed. And Usagi says, oh, looks like you overslept, too. Not so much, Usagi. Naru was studying. She was doing her homework. And Usagi's like, we had homework?
Yeah.
A limo pulls up to the school while this is going on, and 3 girls get out. They're students, I guess, at the school, and they walk into the school in a straight line, very refined.
Yes.
And Usagi's like, what that? And Naru says, those girls are attending the princess seminar at Rose Palace.
Whoa.
And Usagi says, Rose Palace? Isn't that where the Countess Rose lives? The lady that moved here from England?
Yeah.
And Naru says, yes, she's a famous aristocrat, and nobles send their girls to her to learn to be elegant and cultured.
Yes.
Did we get all the exposition in? Oh my god, the bell, we're late. Ring, 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 ring. And I run inside. In class, the return of Miss Haruna.
Yes.
This is scary now. This is scary. In fact, I'm a little worried, all this Trump talk, of who the villain's going to be on the next episode. But I predicted this. Last episode.
Yes.
Where's Miss Haruna?
Right.
Here she is.
Here she is.
If you got any requests, you got to get them in for the end of this show. She says, let's all turn to page 53 because we're going to translate it because we're learning English.
Yeah.
And they're on, they're junior high schoolers and they're on English 2, their books say. So I don't know if that's, up to date. Like, I don't know how much English you've learned by junior high, but English 2 seems relatively advanced for a 14-year-old. Usagi, however, is not studying English. She's having a dream about a fancy ball. And in the dream, they introduce Princess Serenity. She comes in, everybody's impressed by her refinement and grace. A princess like no other. Tuxedo Mask is there. He asks her for a dance. And oh, how they danced. And they're about to kiss when, I guess in the dream, Miss Haruna yells, did you get your homework done? I know. And Usagi says, be gone. This is no way to talk to a princess. And Haruna's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And Usagi thinks, this is great. Ha 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 ha. And she's still laughing when the real Miss Haruna yells at her to wake up. And she says, you forgot your homework. She says, go stand in the hall. So Usagi does. In the hall, Usagi thinks, I have to take my responsibilities as a princess more seriously. And Luna just appears. She's just there.
I know, right?
I guess she woke up. A cat can wake up late. That's fine. And got to school. And Luna says, I'm glad you're finally realizing. Wait, she wasn't done, Luna. Luna, you know how this works, Luna. Come on. Usagi says, so I can dance with Tuxedo Mask at the ball.
Yeah.
Face plant. Typical. In the Dark Kingdom, Beryl addresses Endymion and Kunzite, telling Endymion that he is going to help them get the silver crystal. False, says Endymion, a.k.a. Tuxedo Mask. I don't team up with anybody. I'm working on my own. And Kunzite says, yes, I'll have one of those too. Yeah. I also only work on my own.
Right.
Very unique. And they have a stare down. And Beryl's like, okie dokie, just bring me Sailor Moon's corpse and the silver crystal.
Yeah.
That's all we need.
Yeah.
That night in Game Center Crown, Agent Codename 0091 again is calling her superiors on the Sailor V video game. Passcodes are exchanged, and Luna informs them that Usagi isn't serious about being a princess.
Uh-huh.
That's a difficult problem, says the unseen speaker. Why don't you just, hold on, got a problem. And the screen fizzes out, and an image of Artemis appears on the screen. Uh-huh. He's wearing headphones, and he's eating cat food with a spoon. Yeah. And he's like, pay no attention to the cat in front of this curtain inside this video game machine. Okay, all right, you got me. Luna's like, you've been giving me orders this whole time?
Yeah.
Which, it's a surprise and a fizzle.
Oh, you think it's a fizzle?
It's kind of a disappointing surprise.
Okay.
This is it?
Yeah.
I'm also disappointed, like, where is he?
That's a really good question.
He's just in a room talking to, like, a radio or something.
Yeah.
And I just thought he'd be inside of it or something like that. Like, he's just
that
in
would
the
actually
machine.
have been more fun, honestly.
Yeah. But I mean, like, this whole time we've thought that, like, or I thought, I guess, erroneously, that this was someone else. This was somebody important. This was, like, the boss or something. This is real to be the cat the entire time?
Yeah. In the manga, it's different. In the manga, Artemis sets up, I'm not 100% sure, but I think he sets up the Sailor V video game to train Minako to be Sailor V.
Oh.
And then she goes to the same Game Center Crown.
Yeah.
In the manga.
Okay.
And this is in Codename Sailor V. And then in the Sailor Moon manga, supposedly somehow Minako is training Usagi through the game.
Well, she's not very good at the game.
No. And it's never explained how she trains her. But, you know.
I don't know. It just seems like it's, when you got a TV show that's got a lot of mystery boxes and a lot of spinning plates and you're trying to wrap them up before the end of the show. Mm-hmm. It's kind of what that feels like to me.
Okay. I hear where you're coming from. Yeah.
Anyway, the next day at Castle Rose, there are many young women taking their seminar on being a princess. A lot of them are really great. Many young women take their princess seminars here, and they say it's very good. A lot of people like it. Countess Rose announces that they will read a poem by Frances Hinek, who, as far as I can tell, is not a real person.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
And this poem reads, as I sank into the darkness, my beloved sent me a golden arrow. I am perplexed by the sweet poison covering the arrowhead. I'm a prisoner of love. Wake me up! Wake me up! I can't wake up!
Oh my gosh. Sounds like Evanescence.
I don't know. I mean, translating, is always weird, but boy, that's really? Okay. As this is going on.
It's not a real person.
Then you could do whatever you want, You could be like a poem about a crystal, like a thinly veiled sort of.
Sure.
But anyway, this is what we get. As this is going on, Usagi and Luna pop out of a tree outside the window, and they're eavesdropping. You're literally like dropping eaves. Like they're in the eaves, which are sinking under their weight. And Usagi's like, oh my God, wow. And Luna's like, oh my God, what? And Usagi's like, they're eating cheesecake from Charmant.
Yes.
Which, I don't know what Charmant is, but
it
sounds French.
We'll get to it.
A butler politely coughs below them and says, young lady, please use the front door if you have business here. And they fall out of the tree. But Usagi says, I want to join the seminar. And the butler says, it's by invitation only. I'm sorry. And Usagi says, I was invited by this lady. And picks up Luna. So, great improvisation on her part.
Yeah.
At this point, Countess Rose arrives, and she's like, ooh, ha, 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 ha. A cat's invitation is good enough for me. And she lets Usagi in. Yeah. She says, it'll be interesting to have a unique person around. Read, poor. Usagi's like, well, I can't cook or play music or wear a kimono. I know nothing. And the princess is like, oh, how wonderful to be so unskilled. Read, uncultured. But I've one condition. Play frisbee with me, you Philistine.
Yeah.
And Usagi's like, wow, let me at it. And she throws the frisbee like her tiara, and it flies in the window. It cuts two girls' hair's ribbons off, and it returns to her hand. And the countess is like, you're in. but don't make the place dirty.
Oh my god.
At Hikawa Shrine, everybody's talking about Usagi just going off to be a princess on her own. Opinions are mixed, but Minako says, what's wrong with her being just the way she is? Aw. And Artemis says, she's got to be a princess in every aspect. Only a true princess can activate the Silver Crystal's true power. Which...
New information?
I don't know how that works.
Yeah, right.
The crystal is also classist. Nami says, hey, let's all go be princesses.
Yeah.
I'll be a RoboCop princess. I don't know how that works. Back at Castle Rose, all the girls are playing Frisbee in, like, riding outfits?
That's what it looks
or
like.
something.
Yep.
The Countess is watching them from a second floor window, and she says, is this what you want, Mr. Kunzite? Kunzite appears, saying that Sailor Moon has a technique that's like throwing a Frisbee. Also, she's a bit clumsy. That's about it. And Countess Rose says, got it. We find a girl who's good at Frisbee, but her manners are ass, and that'll be Sailor Moon.
Yeah.
I'm a little worried about this one.
I know, right?
I mean, it seems like a dumb plan, but I think all their bases are covered.
I think so, too.
If Usagi eats half of the buffet at dinner, she's as good as dead. At dinner, the girls are tittering over their dinner, and soup is served, and immediately Usagi begins slurping it, and we get a little bit here. Little, pretty woman bit, or, you've seen this before. A high society comedy.
Yeah.
The butler's like, please eat quieter. And she's like,
yeah.
He's like, eat quieter. Eat quieter. We cut to speech therapy class. A princess must speak with refinement. And Usagi is asked how she would offer a guest coffee, and she's got like it must be like a Japanese formal way of speaking or something that we talked about before, where she's like, would you partake forthwith of one coffee at this time?
Right.
And Countess Rose says, you don't have to be so polite about coffee. Just say, would you like a cup? So she fails that one. Not looking good. We cut to the final session of the seminar. Ballroom dancing, of course. The Countess says, if I tap you on the shoulder, you've graduated. Usagi ain't getting that tap.
No.
I'm going to say that right now. And a bunch of rando dudes have appeared to be partners. Like, where do these guys come from? Is there like a separate prince school or something like that? At
maybe.
At Fortress Rose or something? Or Fortress Glass, Broken Glass.
Sure.
A lot tougher.
Yeah, right.
Somebody there is training them. Because, isn't but the Princess Diaries, isn't this like the Princess Diaries? Doesn't she have to be trained to be a prince? She's like
well, she's trained to be a princess.
She's from New York or something like that?
Right.
I don't know how to be a princess.
Right.
New York accent.
She's super awkward and clumsy, but her grandmother teaches her.
Yeah, Mary Poppins tells her how to be a princess.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, anyway, I'm positing if they want to do a male spinoff,
Sure.
starring Ansel Elgort or something like that.
Maybe not him.
But
yeah.
Anyway, so they're all dancing with these men, and all 4 inner scouts reveal themselves to be there, also dancing. And of course, Ami and Makoto are killing the dance portion. So graceful, so beautiful. Not as beautiful as my daughter.
Oh my God! Please stop.
Yes. And Minako and Rei, however, not so much in the dancing part. Along with Usagi, they all are crushing a few feet out there. They're making feet wine. And Countess Rose is going around with the tappa tappa. My day, we would have killed for tappa tappa. But no tappa 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 for Rei and Minako and Usagi.
No.
They're just not good at dancing. But Ami and Makoto get the nod.
Yeah.
So we cut to the room where all the girls who've got tappa tappa get to go. It's full of statues that you look like young girls. Because they are young girls!
Yeah.
Countess Rose transforms into a Yoma named Shakokai.
Yeah.
Weird seashell. Look, she got shells all over her body.
Yeah.
Which open. Creepy.
Yeah.
And spray the girls with fluid.
Yes.
Looks like lots of girls get sprayed. But okay. It looks like pea soup. This is I'm uncomfortable. But anyway, the upshot is the girls become statues. In the other rooms, the girls are concerned, the girls who are left behind. But Shikokai appears. The staff, who are apparently not in on this, all try to run away. They're like, this isn't worth $2.50 an hour. But they are blasted by Shikokai's goo.
Yes.
And the Yoma says, too bad you failed the seminar. One of you 3 must be Sailor Moon. Sailor Moon is clumsy, stupid, scatterbrained, and uncouth. And Minako's like, that makes sense. And Rei's like, it's a good plan. It's a good plan.
Thanks for the support,
I don't know where we're at
guys.
for Dumb Bunny. We'll work it out. Shikokai says, I'm going to turn you into dolls. Goo dolls. Goo goo dolls? And she sprays her goo everywhere. She's getting goo on the walls, on the ceiling, on the phone. But suddenly Artemis and Luna jump out and grab her face, blinding her. The old cat move.
Yeah.
And the girls jump out of the window, and we get a trio of Moon Prism Power makeups, Mercury makeups, Power makeups, Planet makeups. We're all making up.
Yes.
I don't know what we're making up. They need to get their own things, don't they? It's all just...
Well, it's just insert
Moon,
name of
Prism
planet
Power,
makeup.
hitting the
it's
home
like
run, baseball,
Mars Power makeup,
Jupiter,
and Venus Power makeup.
Moon,
yeah.
Prism Power, Cram School, psh, Mercury. Shikokai makes her way outside, and she's confronted by sailors, Moon, Mars, and Venus. Well, this Yoma's got to die, girls, because she knows collectively that you're Sailor Scouts, whether
Right.
one of you is Sailor Moon or
Good
not.
point.
The Yoma makes with the goo shooting, and both Fire Soul and Crescent Beam prove ineffective. The girls are in trouble. Shikokai says, I'll turn you into wax dolls. And Usagi says, I like dolls, but I don't want to be one. All right, come on, Dumb Buddy 6 here, come on. When suddenly, and maybe by now expectedly, a rose sinks into the cobblestones. Tuxedo Mask appears behind Shako, and he says, Good work, monster. Now, Sailor Moon, hand over the crystal, and I'll spare your life. And Shako's like, that's not the plan. This is to kill her.
Yeah.
And he's like, what do you choose? What it's going to be?
Uh-huh.
Sailor Moon can't believe it. You can cut the tension with a knife. But Kunzite appears and says, hey, butt out, Endymion. And Tuxedo Mask is like, the silver crystal is the most important thing. And Kunzite's like, false. And the Yoma's like, so do I kill him? Or like, and meanwhile, Kunzite and Tuxedo Mask are like, less filling, tastes great. Less filling, tastes great. That's for some of the older.
Yeah,
older
I
listeners.
get it.
And Shikokai she's really going through something here. She doesn't know what to do. She's like, oh no, what order do I follow? When Sailor Moon suddenly pops up and says, won't you kindly please have a cup of coffee? And the Yoma's like, you don't have to be so polite about coffee. And Usagi says, now's my chance. Moon healing escalation. Refresh.
Yes.
And I guess she was a real countess the entire time.
Yeah.
So his Kunzite's ability is to like take regular people and like brainwash them and make them Yoma, I guess.
Well, so we haven't seen it, but remember when Zoisite turned Redman into a Khan, he had changed the powers of the Black Crystal.
Yeah.
So he could take any human and make them a Yoma.
But it seems like he was kind of making people like Hulk out into monsters. But Kunzite now has taken two real people and made them, even in their human forms, like under his control. Like he's converting
I see what
them.
you're saying. Yeah, they're under his control already, probably with the power of the Black Crystal, but they haven't actually transformed yet into the Yoma. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, they can serve as humans as well. They're not just like, kill Sailor Moon. Or say my name over and over again. Anyway, Sailor Moon thinks, here we go.
Yeah.
Check this out. Sailor Moon thinks, I'm going to use the power to turn Tuxedo Mask back to normal. What a great idea!
Which you brought up last time. Yes, absolutely.
And she begins moon healing, but before she can finish, Tuxedo Mask retreats, saying, keep the crystal for now. I'll be back.
Yeah.
No parting poem or anything like that.
I know. I was kind of surprised.
Enough poetry. Inside the palace, the girls eventually return to normal, but through the balcony window, they see their savior, Sailor Moon, staring off into the moonlight.
Yes.
The next day, Usagi races out of her house to school. She's late again. She sees Luna on the way, and Luna's like, you're still doing this? Mm-hmm. And alarm clocks, they're cheap. I know we had that thing where time took possession of everybody and we all went crazy, but, you can get a new alarm clock. Mm-hmm. But Usagi says, I've made up my mind. I'm going to be my own kind of princess. Who's late to stuff? Princess people time.
Right.
That's the show.
Yep, that's the show. It ends there.
Yes. Didn't love it.
No, I didn't either, to be perfectly honest.
I mean, you line everything up. It's got to come at a certain time or whatever. But this felt like killing time. It was kind of cute to see a return to kind of the standard, even early format where we're just going to school and then somebody at school is like, hey, did you hear they're giving out free hot fudge sundaes? And then it's a hot fudge sundae monster. But
delicious.
With everything we've got on the line here, I was a little underwhelmed by this one.
Yeah, and like we've got like you were saying, like we've got so much going on, so much happening. I don't understand why they didn't like really. This doesn't really further the story that much.
Yeah, even thing with Tuxedo Mask, like and I made a comment about like, well, why doesn't she just, moon healing escalation him?
Yeah.
And now she wants to do that, but if that is the solution, we've got to keep him.
Yeah.
Now we've got to keep him back,
out.
so she can't instantly do that. So
yeah.
It's literally just padding.
Yes, exactly.
Which is, and I get that they have to do that, but it's a little.
I wish it
frustrating.
wasn't so obvious that that's what they were doing.
Yeah, it is. It is kind of obvious.
So it's disappointing. It's disappointing, especially because I think that the show, especially going back and like rewatching it, I think a lot of the episodes that we would consider possibly filler or padding are some like really great episodes, like, and stuff like actually happens and stuff develops, and you know what I mean.
But we at least get like a resolution from Usagi that she is getting serious, but I like that she's getting serious in her own way.
Yeah, it's her own take on it, and I think that's important.
Just like Princess Anne Hathaway decided that she's going to kick up her heels. She's going to wear sneakers sometimes.
Right.
Under that gown. She's going to do it her way. As the Princess of Granarnia or whatever it was.
Gosh, I honestly with you, I don't remember what the fake country was called.
Princessia.
Right, exactly.
Your Honor, a courtroom is a crucible. In it we burn away irrelevancies until we are left with a pure product, the truth, for all time.
Oh man, this is so intense. Data is on trial for his life.
I know. This episode, The Measure of a Man, is based on the Supreme Court's Dred Scott decision of 1857.
And every week on Backtracking, we take a look at the real-world events that inspired classic Star Trek episodes. Sorry.
Shut up!
Shh.
Who are you?
We're the hosts of Backtracking. I'm Caliban.
You will both be taken to the brig and from there to the nearest starbase, where you will answer charges for what you have done.
And I'm Gooey Fame.
This is not a game. This is life and death.
You can follow us on Twitter.
Backtracking is available wherever you listen to podcasts.
You go f*** yourself.
For Kyoru Miro Curiously Looking Around, where we talk about elements of Japanese culture within the episode, I thought we would talk about English language education in Japan. In this episode, Miss Haruna is teaching the class English while Usagi is sleeping and dreaming of dancing elegantly as Princess Serenity. English language education, or Eigo Kyoiku in Japan, started as early as 1600 with the earliest communications between the Japanese and the Europeans. Nearly all students graduating from high school in Japan have had a number of years of English language education. That being said, a lot still do not have fluent English conversation abilities. The first documentation of the initial contact between the Japanese and a speaker of native English happened around 1600, when it is thought that Tokugawa Ieyasu, who founded the Tokugawa shogunate, which was during the Edo period of 1600 to 1868, met with the Englishman William Adams. Although it is... Is that funny?
Yes.
It's very...
What, was Bob Johnson busy?
Yeah, I know, right?
It's like the most English name ever.
Although it is documented that the only translator between the two men was only fluent in Portuguese, it did not prevent Tokugawa Ieyasu from having a very positive relationship with William Adams, who stayed in Japan for the rest of his life. Interestingly enough, Adams became one of the first, for which there weren't many, Western samurai.
What? Please. It's a Western samurai. I mean, it's James Clavell stuff. Or Tom Cruise. He's getting a samurai. Better than any samurai.
Yeah, I know, right? I didn't say that.
And he's got a lot of samurai working for him on a boat. Wouldn't they learn Dutch? Or shouldn't we be talking about Dutch or Portuguese?
I'm sure that they did, but I basically focused on English language.
This podcast is in English.
Yeah.
But I wonder what the crossover point, the over-under was when there started to be more English books in Japanese schools than Portuguese or Dutch books. You know what I mean? Like when the Meiji Restoration happened, and they probably started like filing kids into schoolrooms and stuff like that. They probably had Dutch, Portuguese, whatever. But at what point was it like, get rid of the Dutch?
Why?
books?
What was the turning point?
Yeah, we gotta. Maybe it was when Perry sailed into the harbor with the guns and everything. And they're like, "You got any English books?
Well,
we need a ton of English books right now."
I think that might have been influential on that for sure. I could look into that further and get back to you.
Yeah, or just like when MacArthur and everybody showed up, like, okay,
right. Yeah. I think both heavily influenced the way that English is taught in Japan now. Probably. Yeah. Tokugawa Ieyasu died in 1616. In 1623...
So did Shakespeare. Sorry.
So there you go. Contemporary of Shakespeare on the other side of the globe. In 1623, the Tokugawa shogunate altered foreign policy and decreed the closing of the English Merchants' Office, which consequently resulted in the English leaving Japan. Several years later, in 1635, the Sakoku Edict was issued by the Tokugawa shogunate. Sakoku means closed country, and was the isolationist foreign policy during which, for over 200 years, connections and trade between Japan and other countries were critically restricted. Almost all foreign citizens were prohibited from going to Japan, and common Japanese people were prevented from departing the country.
It's like, thanks for the guns. Yeah. I don't want anybody else to get them.
Right.
Yeah.
Which, of course, ended in 1853 when Matthew Perry showed up with American black ships.
Could these ships be any more black?
I know, right? And forced Japan to reopen for trade through a number of treaties. After studying in the United States for 10 years, Nakahama Manjiro wrote an English textbook called Eibai Taiwa Shokei, which translates as a shortcut to Anglo-American conversation, which utilized Japanese kana for pronunciation and the kanbun, a form of classical Chinese writing, word order system. This book would become significant in formatting the techniques for teaching and learning English in Japan. In modern Japan, there seems to be inconsistent views over how the Japanese regard the English language. On the one hand, it seems that there is a lot of interest in obtaining a usable understanding of the English language, which is illustrated by the annual increase in STEP Eiken, which is a practical English proficiency test managed by a Japanese Public Interest Incorporated Foundation and sponsored by MEXT.
Oh no, MEXT!
They keep coming up.
I was about to say MEXT.
I know. Applicants, so it's an increase in applicants for that. And the amount of Japanese media outlets who have started to include English language programs in their lineup in order to assist in the worldwide economy and global community. While on the other hand, writers like Mike Guest and Harry J. Hughes have commented that Japan keeps itself one of the most self-sufficient nations on Earth due to its geographic seclusion and astonishing translation industry, which produces very little need of English use in daily life. Also, there are not a lot of native English speakers living in Japan.
For not needing English, they sure scream it out a lot in their animes.
I'm getting to that.
Or is anime plural already? Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, it is. But
it's like cactus.
But, right.
Wait.
But
is that true?
I don't know. But see, I put an S at the end of animes. No, you don't. No. It's just anime.
Yes.
Okay, yes. No, correct. Anyways, moving on. Japanese students experience considerable difficulty in studying English because of foundation variability in syntax and grammar, as well as key variations in pronunciation. Japanese word order is typically subject, object, verb, whereas English is typically subject, verb, object.
Yeah.
The only exacting rule of word order in Japanese is that the verb must come at the end of the sentence, possibly followed by sentence end particles.
I mean, first of all, everybody should learn at least one language beyond the one that they
beyond
were raised
their native
on.
Language. Yeah.
Because it just makes you versatile, but yeah, it's just got to be. It's amazing that we try to make kids do that, but at the same time, like kids' brains can do that. Like they're not crystallized in terms of like the way that they store knowledge. That's it's so much harder to learn a language as like an adult, than as a child. But yeah, having two just so completely different languages you have to learn is it's tough.
It is tough, absolutely. Japanese language also frequently omits subjects, does not have articles, and functionally does not have plural forms, like we were just talking about when we were talking about anime.
Yeah.
In Japanese, it is also difficult to distinguish between the sounds of L and R in the English language. All of these factors contribute to considerable issues utilizing English effectively. Japanese have tended to score comparatively badly on international tests of the English language. An additional difficult component to Japanese learning the English language has been the utilization of English in everyday life for, quote, design or, quote, decorative rather than useful intentions. That is, for Japanese consumption, not intrinsically for English speakers, as a way of seeming, quote, smart, sophisticated, and modern, end quote. So why I included this is because when we see like random English words in Japan, or like in anime and manga and that sort of thing, where they will use a random English word, it's meant to be more kind of like decorative and like cool and like, hey, look, I'm using English, you know, than like necessarily specifically that's the reason why they use it. And then also, you know, when we see what we call English, which is like words that are used in a decorative way on like you know, clothing or menus or, you know, other items, that when as a native English speaker you look at it and you read it and you're like, well, that doesn't make sense. It's not there for us. It's not there to, they don't necessarily care that that it's spelled correctly or that it's grammatically correct. And you can kind of equate this to, I think specifically on clothing here in the West, I should say, but maybe on other items as well. Sometimes they will include like random like kanji, and like, we don't know what that says. Like when I had a Japanese exchange student staying with me, and we went shopping and there was some random kanji on a shirt, and I asked her, what does that say? And she said, it says, fly strongly, grandma, grandpa. So we're guilty of this too. So previous to this, English was taught in school on a fairly regular basis, but starting in 1998, MEX took steps for a select amount of public primary schools to have required English classes. Many Japanese parents send their kids to eikaiwa schools even before elementary school starts. So,
wow.
Yeah. And I'll get to why more in a little bit, but eikaiwa schools are private language schools for English conversation. Eikaiwa teachers are typically native English speakers. The biggest of these eikaiwa chains are Aeon, ECC, Nova, Barrett's, and GEOS. Today, only Aeon and ECC have not filed for bankruptcy. The eikaiwa business is not well regulated. In Japan, Nova collapsed in October 2007, abandoning thousands of foreign teachers with no compensation or a place to live. Customarily, the Japanese have used the grammar translation method, thanks in part to Manjuro's Kanbun system, to teach students the English language. Japanese schools teach English language with an emphasis on writing and grammar over talking. I think that's one reason why the eikaiwa schools are so popular, because it's focused on conversation, which is not emphasized in your regular classroom as far as English learning goes.
So it's more, you know, like usable everyday English, rather than just here's how you write all these little characters,
right?
And stuff like
exactly.
that. Is anybody like not like this? I mean,
not like what?
Japanese, you know, as we've discussed, have a national identity like anybody else, and a powerful one. Is anybody like, I'm teaching all these kids English? They need to know English. They're going to forget Japanese. Forget where they came from.
I don't know about modern day, but during like the Meiji period is when they started modernizing. Right, there were a bunch of books that came out that were that kind of talked about the possible risks of steering away from Japanese culture and westernizing too much. And so...
But I can't talk about that right now. I got to go to this baseball game.
So, I think for a while there was not really a push for learning English. I don't know how a lot of the teachers necessarily feel about specifically, like, do they feel positively about teaching English or not? One other thing to mention is that there are English tests that every, like, high school student needs to be able to pass. And like a lot of American schools with, like, standardized testing, the teachers are teaching the test material and not really teaching how the English language necessarily works.
Well, I mean, you see that everywhere.
You do.
And like,
it's you know,
and
it's
like
not
95%
great,
of these kids are never going to leave Japan anyways. So.
Yeah.
All right.
So, the English language teachers have to teach these obsolete forms through subjects such as recycling plastic, animals and people dying in World War II, and dull Japanese history, making students uninterested. Topics like these are compulsory in government-sanctioned textbooks, and yes, the government has to approve of English textbooks and the content therein. In April 2011, it became mandatory for English language to be taught in school beginning in the 5th grade of elementary school. By 2020, it is planned to make, and I don't know when this goes into effect. I read somewhere it was the beginning of 2020, so I'm not 100% sure this has already happened, but it's planned to make English language activity courses, so kind of precursor to actual full lessons, compulsory for 3rd and 4th grade students, and then transform those lessons into full lessons for 5th and 6th grade students.
Okay.
Workers of the Japan Exchange and Teaching Program, or JET, are sponsored by the Japanese government to help English language teachers at Japanese high schools, middle schools, and elementary schools in Japanese cities and rural areas. My youngest sister studied Japanese language and culture in college, and after she graduated, she went to Japan on JET for 2 years and helped teach English to students in over 10 different elementary and middle schools.
What are her thoughts on mixed?
I don't know. I'll have to ask her. But yeah, she was teaching in a rural part of Akita Prefecture. So that's just kind of like a basic overview of learning English in Japan.
It's so interesting that it's mandatory and that, you know, clearly they're like, well, everybody needs to know this. Like, this is just, you should just know this.
I read another article that talked about, and I think there's a lot to this, like, you know, like something like if it depends on like your own native language, how difficult another language might be for you to learn. Like some of the components that we talked about,
right,
with the variances with English and Japanese, besides like writing systems and whatnot. Oh, and I should mention that it is used. They use romanji to teach English, which is the Latin writing system, and it's this. The romanji is the term they use for writing in Latin, but they do not teach the correct English pronunciation in school. Like, pronunciation is taught using katakana, which is syllabic.
So it kind of cuts both ways, because like when you learn romanji, you know, the first thing you learn is like, you're not going to be saying a lot of these U's, you know, we just put them in there because we hate you. But then they've got the same problem over there where it's like, well, let's spell this word out. But then it's using like our phonetic alphabet, and there's going to be, you know, you're not going to say a lot of those U's too.
Right. And it sounds so different and everything. But so depending on, they did a study, and depending on like where your native language is, how difficult it is for you to learn English, and like how many hours you need to study to have a certain proficiency. And Japanese they had to have like over 2,500 hours. Wow. And they don't get that much in school. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's just, it's crazy. So it's definitely not an easy thing to do.
Esperanto, people. Esperanto. What if everybody made a big agreement? You know, we had like Toei and Bandai are like, come on, man, we got to wipe out this sub-dub market discrepancy. So just all anime will be in Esperanto, and this few easy steps. You as an English manga, fan, learn Esperanto, and we can all enjoy it together.
I think a lot of things would need to happen in order for that to happen, but sure, why not?
Yeah, the first manga or anime in Esperanto.
Let's
that's
make it
the
happen.
dream.
Itadakimasu with Usagi. What did Usagi eat in this episode? When Usagi is running late to school, she has a piece of buttered toast hanging out of her mouth that she scarfs down. When Luna discovers that Artemis has been the one giving her orders through the Sailor V game,
Wait, what?
we see that he has 2 empty cans of food. One has a picture of a cat on it, which I'm guessing is cat food, and the other has a picture of a fish on it. So I'm guessing it's some sort of canned fish. Later at the princess seminar at the Rose Mansion, we see the girls are drinking what I am guessing is coffee and a variation on a classic English tea set, a porcelain or ceramic teapot, teacups, and saucers. I'm guessing that it is coffee because we later see Usagi offering Shako Kai a cup of coffee out of the same cups.
Solid gold. All gold. And they're eating soup, or Usagi's eating soup.
Yes. Later, we see at the princess seminar they're eating some kind of soup, which has like a yellowish hue to it, and she slurps it loudly. Also, so the princesses in training, that's what I'm going to call them. Sure. Princesses in training, or P.I.T.s.
P.I.T.s.
Yeah, P.I.T.s. And I also should mention that Usagi gets super excited about cheesecake from Charmant, and it is spelled Charmont.
Charmant.
I had to go back and double check. I could not find any information on whether Charmant was a real restaurant, bakery, or patisserie in Japan. I'm guessing it is not.
Yeah.
I found several different things for Charmant in Tokyo, spelled Charmant. There is a small bento place called Charmant, and there is also a jazz bar with the same name. This is what I think they're referencing in the show. In the TV show Kamen Rider Gaim, there is Charmant, or Charmant, is a pastry shop in Zawame, a city that only exists in this particular series, and it is owned by Oren Pierre Alfonso. Oren previously went by Genosuke Oren and is described as a feminine and muscly man. Besides owning Charmant, Oren is a head chef and former soldier in the French military. He transforms into Kamen Rider Bravo, utilizing the durian lock seed, and which is basically their transformation sort of things.
Popeye had spinach, I guess.
Yeah, right. In Zawame, Oren is most frequently referred to as the Charmant guy. Oren is a famous pastry chef and well known in Zawame for his baking expertise.
So it's a fellow property shout out, basically.
I think so.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
That's
what this show's for.
I was lucky I found that.
That's what it's for.
Uh-huh.
How would anybody know that?
I got no idea.
If it wasn't for us.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
In My Heart is the Kaleidoscope, where we talk about the fashion in Sailor Moon. What the heck are they wearing? There's a lot to cover in this episode. We see Countess Rose, and she is wearing a long, puffy-sleeved, light blue long dress with a frilly white high-neck collar. She also has her hair loosely tied back in a light blue hair tie made up of large spherical beads. The P.I.T.s they have 3 different outfits. Yes. Their initial outfit is the one that they're wearing for the majority of the episode, and they are long, puffy-sleeved, bright pink long dresses with a white frilly embellishment at the collar, draping at the bottom of the skirt, as well as a lighter pink fabric at the bottom. There is also a light pink bow at the back, and they are all wearing bright pink chokers too. Their hair accessories all vary. Usagi has 2 bright pink bows at the front of her buns. Usagi actually gripes to herself right before they eat that this outfit is really tight. And I mentioned those before early on because we see those outfits when Naru is talking about them, and we see kind of like what's going on at the Princess Seminar. But before we go to the Princess Seminar, Usagi has her dream, and in her dream, she appears as Princess Serenity and appears to be wearing the same dress that she wore to the dinner party masquerade for Princess D in episode 22.
Yeah, kind of recycling a little bit.
A little bit.
When she was from the Shishmorsha's Kingdom or whatever.
Gosh, I don't even remember.
It was like
Isn't that horrible?
It was like a Russian name.
Yeah, like she was Princess Ivanovich, I think.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think, go with me,
Okay.
do you think if we did another live action Sailor Moon, that we could have a Usagi with a non-standard body type? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this is, anime is like, all right, so this is, somebody's got blue hair or whatever, and it's either just a stylization or you're supposed to just, imagine that all these huge-eyed, pink-skinned girls are just, Japanese girls.
Right.
Which you can get if you watch the live-action show.
Yeah.
They're Japanese girls.
Yeah.
Who then transform and have blue hair.
Right.
Because you got to have blue hair. But they're also, all just young, thin Japanese girls. Like, would we ever do that? Could we do that? And here's what made me think of it is because, we have one or two brushes where Usagi complains that she's getting quote unquote fat, and this could be the wailings of a young teen girl who's worries about this kind of stuff, but doesn't need to worry either because she just doesn't need to worry, or because you're a real thin anime girl. Like, what are you talking about?
Right.
But, she says that, and she's like, oh, his clothes are too tight. Maybe all the girls, the clothes, they're tight, but they don't want to complain about it because they're trying to be princesses. But it just made me think, like, can we just have, like, a girl who's just not some stick figure who's, like, one of the... Well, I'm saying Usagi, because definitely we could do one of the Sailor Scouts, like how the live-action Saban show is like, we've got a girl who's in a wheelchair, which I think is great.
Yes.
And you could have anywhere. But
Right.
it was clearly just them going... what's next on the diversity list?
Right. I know.
I bet, and God, we haven't seen this live action Saban show, but I'm gonna get my hands on it.
Oh, yeah.
You gotta
right.
watch it for some bonus show or something like that. But that was probably Sailor Mercury, right?
The wheelchair?
Yeah, you
kit?
put the...
I think it was, actually.
Oh, was it?
I think
I'm
so.
just guessing. I'm
think
going by the
so.
Burger King Kids Club. You put the technical kid in. He's in a wheelchair.
I actually, from what I've read, from what I remember, I think it is Sailor Mercury.
Oh, man. This is great.
Yeah.
I'm a genius when it comes to shows for children. This is like Billy Madison playing dodgeball with the third graders,
Well, here's the thing. I would totally be open and support them having... with an additional like live action Sailor Moon, having them do somebody who is not rail thin for Sailor Moon. I'd totally be open to that and support that. Whether or not they'd actually do it is, I think, another question.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Probably not.
Yeah.
But food for thought.
Yeah.
Or, whatever.
Or for food.
Right at the end, I ruined it.
Oh, no. All of the Senshi Street clothes are repeat outfits in this, except for Minako. Minako is wearing a red structured jacket, a light pink sweater, a light green short skirt, a scrunched up orange scarf, white socks, and aqua sneakers. The P.I.T.s outfit number 2, while the P.I.T.s are tossing frisbees back and forth. Like you said before, the outfit kind of looks like an English riding habit. The outfits are long sleeve white button up shirts, a dark blue necktie, a bright red blazer. The top of the collar is black and the bottom of the collar is red. A crest on the pocket and lots of buttons down the front. They've got white riding pants, which are called breeches. The knee patches are meant to allow you to grip your legs better when doing jumps, if you're actually doing English riding. And they've got tall black riding boots and white gloves. The P.I.T.s outfit number 3.
P.I.T. Prison training. Sorry. Go ahead.
Also, just a side note, how did Ami, Rei, Mako, and Minako get in without an invite? Did Countess Rose accept another invite from a cat? Was like, Minako like, I got an invite from a cat. You're in!
They just pass Artemis to
right?
each other. And
Yeah.
I've got one too.
Yeah, right? Wow, 4 white cats, huh? This is the outfit that they wear while they are dancing. They are long, white, flowing, sleeveless dresses with a V-neck and a big bow in the back. They are also wearing long, white gloves, a pearl necklace with bright red teardrop gemstones, possibly rubies dangling from it, and white high heels. The senshi have different hair accessories. I think the other girls do too, but I'll just recount what the senshi have. Mako and Minako are both sporting their usual hair accessories. Ami is wearing at least one barrette with several pearls on it. Rei is wearing a bright red headband with a bow off to one side, and Usagi has white pearls all around her buns. A little bit of trivia about the dancing scene. The music that plays when Rei, Minako, and Usagi fall flat in their dancing at the Princess Seminar is a distorted variation of the waltz from Leo, I'm going to try to pronounce this correctly, Delibes' ballet Coppelia. And the basic plot of Coppelia is there's this mad scientist who creates a life-size human doll that dances, and another character falls in love with this doll.
Oh, I know this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's the character who falls in love with her is named Franz, and he puts aside his love for Swanhilda. Swanhilda shows him how foolish he has been by dressing up as Coppelia, simulating the doll coming to life and saving him in the end from being killed by the mad scientist.
Yeah. We dealt with this on an earlier episode, didn't we?
Did we?
The Coppelius. Oh, you know what it was? That was the name of the planet that the androids were from in Star Trek Picard.
Oh, right. Okay. That makes sense.
And I thought
it sounded familiar.
Yeah. I thought that was an obscure reference, but it made sense because a mad scientist makes a robot girl or a doll girl.
Right.
But in this, I guess they're dolls, or she wants to turn them into dolls with her goo.
Yes. I think she is referencing Shakokai's quote-unquote dolls. That's what I think it's doing.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
So many missed opportunities here. We literally did a doll episode already.
Yeah, we did.
And
we
covered
specifically dolls.
Covered that. And also, this is like maybe the Princess Seminar comes with clothes. But what a missed disguise pen opportunity for the whole team.
Yeah, right.
Like, Usagi could have used hers. They're like, I don't think so, young girl. And she's like, hold on, runs behind a tree, comes out. I'm from Grenarnia.
Yeah,
right. Where'd all the girls get their rubies and all this stuff? Like this, there must have been some disguise pen stuff going on.
Well, I don't think the other girls have disguise pens. Minako has from Codename Sailor V, so I don't know if we'll see this we may or may not see this in the anime, but in the manga, she has a compact that helps her transform, but also helps her disguise herself. So it has both capabilities.
Does it make jodhpurs?
Jodhpurs? What do you mean?
That's what breeches.
Oh.
Riding pants are called jodhpurs.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I could.
That.
Yes, totally.
Yeah. Anyway.
For villain gauge, where you rate a baddie 1 to 5 dark stars, 5 being the most wicked. In this episode, Countess Rose turns into Shakokai.
Tell me something good. All right.
What?
Like Shaka Khan.
Oh, okay.
This is all late 70s musical references in this show.
We wouldn't have
Stay tuned.
Any other way.
Yeah.
The name Shakokai is a double pun playing on the word Shakokai, which means social circle or high society, and the word kai, which means shellfish. Yeah. It should also be mentioned that the word for giant shellfish is shakogai. This, of course, explains why she is covered in shellfish.
But that would be like if it was a dude.
Shakokai.
Is there a Mr. Shakokai?
Yeah.
So again, up, then back out, then coming back up the butt one more time. Like they just got like this character who just stands around and does nothing except, I guess, spray goo all over everybody.
Yep.
Has like 4 different meanings connected to it. Mm-hmm. And also sounds like a soul singer from the 70s.
Right. Shakokai has blue skin in wearing a yellow sleeveless top and a long sheer seafoam green skirt. She is covered in yellow shellfish. They are on her top, surrounding her waist, covering her breasts. On her back, they run all the way up the outside of her arms.
Those shells go all the way up.
She has one on the center of each hand in the palm. There are 2 giant ones on her shoulders. They are all over her head, and it almost looks like hair, and they are also on her skirt. She has a double strand of pearl bracelets on each wrist and a long gold metal choker that has a strand of pearls at the bottom. She also has a small circular mark in the middle of her forehead. There's a lot going on. It's all shellfish. That's all it is.
You know, you've got a theme.
Yeah.
And you go all the way.
Yeah.
But you go way too far.
A little bit.
Like this is like a bad pageant, like a Drop Dead Gorgeous or something like that. And like my city's known for cheese. And
right.
So it's like you got a cheese dress with like cheese earrings and a cheese hat and like a cheese skirt.
Yes.
A Swiss lace cheese skirt.
Mm-hmm.
It's just too much.
It is too much.
It probably smells terrible too.
Probably. When her shellfish shells open, a light green goo is squirted out from the center of the pearls. I feel like maybe this is a jump. Maybe it is actually wax because she says she's going to make them into wax dolls.
Yeah, she throws that in at the end, so it makes sense. But I don't know. It's maybe like the evocation of like seawater or chowder. Here's my chowder. I'm Shakokai.
She confines
Miss New England is 22. She's studying recreational therapy. Come on.
It's a little much. She confines her victims to an encasing of wax. This is how she makes the life-size, quote-unquote, doll statues, which I guess is kind of terrifying in its own way. She's trying her best to serve both Master Endymion and Master Kunzite, or as she calls them, Endymion-sama and Kunzite-sama, and she gets confused as to which of her bosses she should listen to. Also, Endymion and Kunzite stop the entire fight to just bicker at each other, which is, it's funny, but I wish their insults were more stabbing and more entertaining.
Yeah.
So yeah. While I do really appreciate Shakokai's design and the puns on her name, I don't think that she is a super effective bad guy. Yes, she does encase a whole bunch of people in wax, but I don't find her all that terrifying, and I don't necessarily blame her for not knowing what to do when her bosses show up and ask for different things, but I don't think that her indecision should be praised either. So I'm going to give her 2 out of 5 dark stars.
Yeah, she gets a 2 for me as well. It's a participation trophy, basically.
Nice shells, lady.
Yeah, there's not a lot going on here. No. And she's got kind of like, it's that same thing where she's got like one gimmick. So
right.
They would have found, I mean, if it is wax, how does fire not just melt wax? Like, we would have been fine.
That's a really good point. And also I was thinking, if it is wax, how does it really encase them if it's not hot? And if it's hot, how does it not burn people? Because they're absolutely fine when they come back to life.
But I mean, like we literally got the thing that can melt wax.
That's true.
Fire in the form of Ray's attack. So I don't know.
No, I think you're right. I think she just calls it wax. It's probably some sort of sea concoction or something like that.
I'll take your word for it.
In Sabu or Dabu, where we talk about the differences between the sub and the dub. In the dub, Shakokai's name was altered to be Polite Society.
What?
Well,
that's the laziest thing.
I know, right?
They just literally went, what's it name? Japanese? It's a society? Okay, her name's Polite Society.
Yeah.
That is no one's name.
I know.
That you could have been here. Let's do it right now. She's a shell lady. We'll call her Michelle. Done.
So much better.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Or Queen Michelle.
Queen Michelle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, she's got a crown of like shells on her head.
Yeah.
So yeah, exactly. In the dub, the scene at the beginning, which is actually the very beginning of the episode, where we see Usagi running late and running into Naru and then worrying about all of the homework that she didn't do, was cut. The dub scene starts when the car pulls up with the P.I.T.s in it. So I think you miss out on some of that good character color there. But anyways, we talked about previously how Luna's arcade password was changed in the dub to be, quote, "The meatball-headed scout will always play when the cat is away," end quote. Well, for some reason, they decided to change her password again for this episode to, quote, "The cat who chases his tail leaves a circular trail," end quote.
What?
I got no idea. I don't know what Deke's doing.
Cat who eats cat food's breath smells like cat food.
I know. In the original, after Usagi talks about all of the skills that she doesn't have any talent for, and the Countess Rose says, "How splendid to be so unskilled," a bunch of daggers figuratively appear in Usagi's back. The daggers were cut in the dub. In the original anime, Countess Rose asks Usagi what she would say when asking someone if they would like some coffee. In the English dub, it is altered to hot cocoa. The only reason I could think is like maybe we don't want kids drinking coffee, but
or they think it's gross or something.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think it's kind of silly. When Usagi is slurping her soup loudly, a large sweat drop appears over and partially covers the table as she continues to slurp. A sweat drop is seen on the back of the butler's head, both of which were cut in the dub. To get rid of the butler's sweat drop in the dub, freeze frames are apparently utilized really badly just prior to the sweat drop showing up, and the shot is slowly zoomed out. And after painstakingly cutting out the previous sweat drops, the large one over Countess Rose's face was left in. Which makes no sense, but there you go. And now we are at the point where we rate the episode 1 to 5 roses, 5 being the best, and give our English or Deke titles. Honestly, not a lot happens in this episode, and there's not a lot of it that even really sticks out to me. This is one of my least favorite episodes so far, so I have to give it 1 rose.
Wow. Well, we're simpatico, because I'm going 1 as well.
It's just, what's redeeming about it? I mean, there's a couple of funny things that happen, but nothing really that great.
We've literally covered this ground already. We've covered doll ground. We've covered going to a ball and kind of being a princess ground.
Yep.
We've, the monster is nothing special. We've got a situation where, Usagi's love interest is an evil guy now, and we haven't yet done anything cool with it in 2 episodes.
No, not really.
And we don't have much time left, and we just have basically let the momentum, stop basically for what's happening going forward here. And so, yeah, I mean, it's just kind of a letdown.
I agree. It's definitely a letdown.
It's disappointing, and I should have made a bunch of good predictions for the next episode. Get us back on track. But this is an outlier.
Yeah. Yes. Especially going back to how great the show has been so far.
If it had been, it could still be something that's sort of run or sponsored by the bad guys. But if we had really put Usagi through paces instead of having the gag be, what a slob she is. So, of course, she's not going to make it through this thing. And the bad guys even know that. Despite the fact that she's killed 35 of their monsters so far, the thing that this, teal-haired guy knows about her is that she's clumsy and a slob, I guess. And so they set up a trap where she'll never make it through this thing where you have to not be a slob to get through.
Right.
But, what if they, maybe the cat set it up? What if we saw her going through, a boot camp of being a princess? And, I don't know, I imagine her running through tires or something like that in a ballroom gown. But, and then near the end of it, she's like, I don't need this. Who cares how loud I slurp soup? I mean, we kind of get there.
I see what you're
we
saying.
get there kind of anyway, but there's just a lot of, faffing about that is just kind of forgettable. And like I said, it's ground that's been covered already.
I agree.
Yeah.
My English title is Caution! cavorting counterfeit courtesy.
What are you, Hugo Weaving?
I don't know. I decided to do all C words this week. So.
Yeah, C words indeed.
Oh, wow. I didn't mean like that.
My Deke title is Goo Goo Dolls.
Okay.
Final answer.
Next episode, we are talking about episode number 38, Yuki-yo, Yama-yo, Yujo-yo, Yappari, Yoma-yo, in Japanese. The Snow, the Mountains, Friendship, and Monsters, the English translation, and the English title, Ski Bunny Blues. Your least favorite!
Oh my god. I need to know, is there a rating lower than 1 is what I need to know.
I don't think we
need to
can
get
rate
it ready.
something lower than
If you
1.
hear a scraping sound, it's these knives being sharpened. So we'll see. Next time. And before next time, I want to remind people that they can follow us on Twitter and Facebook. We're out there on social media, and you got to look around a little bit. We're on noob_sailor on Twitter if you want to find us there. We're also on Facebook. We've got a page for the show. It's at facebook.com/sailnoob. One word.
Yeah.
And also we're on Discord. And there's actually a link in the show notes to find us on Discord. We love talking about anime and basically like all kinds of stuff.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
Michael Jackson songs, Shaka Khan, whatever. So, yeah, if you want to chat with the host of the show, you can, and other fans of the show on our Discord. So join us there for Ski Bunny Blues.
That's great. Well, that's our show for this week, and the Name of the Moon will be punishing you next week with another episode of Sailor Noob.
I want to love you, P.I.T.s, but you said dreaming.